Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. We are here to discuss the current state of budget management and what we understand are the necessary reforms to establish an efficient, transparent, and centralized budget system. I will be outlining key observations, challenges, and recommendations for improvements as part of this discussion. But first, it is important to highlight that these observations are the result of a due diligence effort conducted in collaboration and direct support of a working group established between the Oversight Board and the Office of Management and Budget. First, budget management is currently decentralized, with functions spread across several agencies, including the Office of Management and Budget, Hacienda, and AFAF. This decentralization has limited cooperation, promotes silos, and creates inefficiencies in how funds are managed and monitored. Second, there are significant data and system issues. The current budgeting and accounting systems are incomplete in capturing all funds, which include general fund, special revenue, and federal funds, all funds receipts and disbursements. This not only increases financial risk, but also raises concerns about the reliability of the data from entities operating outside of the central accounting system, which is named PREFAS. Third, the budget control agencies are under-resourced despite the civil service reform efforts that have been conducted to increase staffing. The current staff is often overwhelmed by procedural tasks. While consultants are being utilized for support, their knowledge isn't effectively transferred to agency staff, which limits long-term improvements. Additionally, there is a need to adopt practices that align with the generally accepted accounting principles as required by PROMESA. This would enhance accountability and financial transparency. Finally, there's a lack of permanent independent oversight performing assessments of the budget management results and risks. This absence weakens transparency and accountability and is fundamental for a fiscally sustainable budget management practice. To address these challenges, we have preliminarily outlined several recommendations that we will be working on with the incoming administration to implement. On the administrative side, immediate hiring plans for OMB and Hacienda to strengthen expertise in budget development and reporting. Additionally, perform staffing reallocations in order to focus more resources on substantive budget management tasks. Coordination between budget agencies needs improvement to align executive authority with clearer reporting requirements. All funds should be reported quarterly and beginning in fiscal year 27, transition from cash basis to modified accrual accounting standards. This ensures full transparency and compliance with GAAP. In addition, we recommend developing a clearly defined accrual budgeting framework for operating and capital budgets, ensuring all funds are included. Finally, statutory reforms are critical to ensure long-term fiscal responsibility. As I said, the Oversight Board will work with the incoming administration to adopt the necessary statutory changes to have a centralized budget management and to establish an independent oversight entity. Now, let's turn to the second key area of focus, budget development. Please go to the next slide. Here we will highlight the main challenges in the budgeting process and present recommendations for improvement. First, the Puerto Rican government lacks an integrated process to ensure that the fiscal plan directly informs the annual budget. Currently, the Oversight Board manages much of the budget process, with significant reliance on government's decision, which restricts ownership of financial planning. Second, while the OMB and Hacienda play central roles in data collection and budget oversight, they lack access to critical revenue data and agency financials. This gap hinders detailed oversight and transparency, particularly in the context of special revenue and federal funds. Third, the legislature has limited time and information to review the budget. This restricts its influence on decisions, leading to reduced legislative participation in the budgeting process. Finally, the current budget lacks detailed alignment with policy goals, making it challenging to assess fiscal health or prioritize strategic initiatives. Most importantly, it excludes the future outlooks. To address these issues and establish an effective post-PROMESA budget process, we have developed the following recommendations. First, we need to strengthen budget control and financial planning expertise through immediate hiring and training. We recommend reforming the governor's current executive budget to make it more transparent and publicly accessible. This should include revenue forecasting, clear description of changes, and a detailed breakdown of funding sources and uses. Third, the Oversight Board's role should shift toward oversight rather than management to allow greater legislative and stakeholder input. We also suggest modifications to the statutory framework to have a balanced budget under modified accrual accounting standards, align statutory budget timelines with revenue projections in a 5-year financial plan, and ensure that fiscal impact of all legislations is assessed and incorporated into the budget. Now let's turn to the third key area of focus, financial planning. Please go to the next slide. This section emphasizes the importance of creating a reliable, transparent, and comprehensive financial plan that supports effective budgeting and decision-making. First, Puerto Rico relies on FOMB's developed and certified fiscal plan. Its own plan currently lacks a reliable financial plan that encompasses all fund types. This creates obstacles for effective budget development, approval, and management. Moreover, it fails to ensure accurate forecasting for general fund, special revenue, and federal fund and its risks. Second, the financial planning process is dispersed across several agencies, AFAF, Hacienda, Planning Board. This fragmentation limits coordination and creates conflicting authority. Third, fiscal agencies are under-resourced and heavily reliant on external consultants. Unfortunately, this reliance does not translate into long-term capacity building within agencies. Finally, there's a significant lack of transparency in the financial planning process. It's not accessible to elected officials, government officers, or the public. Additionally, there's no permanent oversight that currently assesses financial plans, results, or risks. Following, we will highlight some of the recommendations to enhance forecasting and ensure integration into the broader budget process. First, develop staffing plans to hire and train key personnel within OMB and Hacienda. These plans should aim to strengthen staff expertise in budget management and financial planning. Second, there should be a comprehensive review of the responsibilities and gaps in financial planning across agencies and ensure cooperation through a coordinated executive authority. Third, a working committee should be formed to improve forecasting models for economic performance, tax receipts, and expenditure projections. We also propose modifications to the statutory framework to have balanced budget requirements under modified GAAP, centralization of the financial planning, and to establish an independent oversight role. Please turn to the next slide. Our final focus area is the implementation of the Enterprise Resource Planning, also known as the ERP system. This initiative is crucial for transforming Puerto Rico's financial management practices and stabilizing its finances post-bankruptcy. The ERP is a modernized government, comprehensive and integrated accounting system designed to streamline and automate fiscal processes across the government, providing a centralized database that enables real-time data sharing and collaboration. Currently, the government operates with a fragmented set of financial systems and controls. The absence of a centralized system creates challenges in budget execution, real-time financial visibility, and informed decision-making. It needs to be fixed. It is central to Puerto Rico's transformation. It will provide the transparency needed to enable responsible fiscal management. The existing ERP initiative has experienced significant cost overruns and is delayed. It lacks integration and collaboration across agencies. It requires a centralized project management structure with a change management component to support the completion of the ERP system. Once implemented, the ERP will help eliminate redundant processes, improve compliance, and establish a streamlined and standardized system for financial records, human capital management, budget, procurement, and capital management.
So I will now introduce the Economic and Revenue Forecasting Initiative, which is a component of fiscal transformation. This effort will design a new economic and revenue forecasting methodology and develop a consensus-based annual forecast involving all relevant government agencies as well as external stakeholders. We share a belief that credible economic assumptions accepted by all parties would help the quality of the budget debate. In addition, with agreed upon assumptions, the debate might focus on priorities and/or on the impact of alternative proposals on the economy. Specifically, this initiative aims to establish best forecasting practices within the government of Puerto Rico, establish a more efficient forecasting process, and to reach agreement between all concerned government agencies and the Oversight Board on multi-year revenue forecasts. Next slide, please. The review of the current state so far has demonstrated that the existing underlying processes are non-concurrent and totally decentralized, that there is significant reliance on external advisors, that particular relevant government agencies are not participants in the forecasting processes, and that there is also a lack of public participation and transparency as to methodology and assumptions. Next slide, please. Therefore, the Oversight Board's initiative looks to redesign the forecasting model to serve as a tool for the annual strategic budget and financial decisions of the government of Puerto Rico, while developing the capacity and skills needed at the agency's level to assume an active role in the economic and revenue forecasting processes. Next slide, please. Further, we look to a future state where the government will have the resources necessary to manage a centralized forecasting methodology that is part of the budgeting process, increases government efficiency, and supports fiscal stability, amongst others. Next slide. These future state objectives will be supported by a working committee between the government, the Oversight Board, and expert advisors, capacity building at the government agencies, the development of liability and expenditure models, and the development of a consensus forecasting